Did my 6. What's up, everybody? Quick video. I got a story to tell. It's a story that I didn't think I would ever tell, especially on social media. But I have been inspired to tell my story here today. I've been inspired by a real man who I've always kind of admired for his craft because he's really good at it. A man who at times I've disagreed with on social issues, not always, not entirely, but to a degree, but a man who I will always respect, and a man for whom my respect has just gone up so much further. That man's name is Will Smith, the actor, the rapper, the pop culture icon. Now, as you're watching behind me to see what or who may or may not be back there, creeping ever so closely to listen to this tale, I'm going to tell you why my respect just went up for Will Smith, and then I'm going to share my experience with you that was similar. Will Smith, in my view, is a real man. Now, I do not condone violence. I believe if there's any way to avoid it, any realistic way, and still end up with the same desired result, violence should always be avoided. But I do believe, obviously as Will Smith believes, certain things are sacred. The woman you love is sacred. Your family is sacred. And I think Chris Rock, another actor slash comedian slash somebody that I've thought at times is funny but is mostly crass, just found that out the hard way at the Oscars. Now, I'm not big into pop culture. I'm aware of it. I mean, unless you live under a rock, you kind of have to be. But I'm sure you've heard by now about Chris Rock taking that cheap shot at Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, who I've never really been much of a fan of. She's a man's wife. I would never disrespect her or any other woman, especially in front of their husbands, their children. It's just a line that shouldn't be crossed. And Chris Rock crossed that line, and he got bitch slapped for it, as he rightly deserved. Kudos, Will Smith. So, here's my story. The title, something to the effect of, he was beaten so badly, or I was beaten so badly I couldn't walk for a month. True story. I'm going to tell you the true story. Because when I saw what happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock, it kind of brought it all up. Because it almost happened again with a supervisor from the U.S. Postal Service here a couple years back. And, well, I'm just going to tell you there's a couple people who it might happen to here in the near future if they don't watch what they're doing. So this was years ago. This was in the Philippines. I had made a mistake. Okay, listen. There are a lot of folks who live in third world countries who believe, not all, but there are many who believe that if you're a tourist, a white tourist from a Western nation, you're a rich American. You have all this money, and many of them, not all, not even most, but there are a lot of folks in those places who will try to get it from you. They will do whatever they can to get it. You have to learn how to say no. You have to be able to say no loudly, firmly, and you need to be able to repeat it over and over and over, okay? So while I was learning this lesson, before I got to the point to where I could say no over and over and over, there was a guy who had borrowed some money from me, a very small amount. I think it was, I want to say something as small as 1,000 pesos, which is about 22.5 US dollars, okay? Very small amount. But I'm not a bank. I don't have a lot of money, and back then I definitely didn't have a lot of money. I was stuck. I was down and out in the Philippines, and it was all my wife and I could do to make sure our kid, who was a baby at the time, ate while we went to bed hungry and didn't tell each other because we didn't want the other worrying about us. Tough times. So I had befriended a couple of people as much as I could befriend someone, knowing the whole time I was basically being viewed as a commodity. a means to an end, as it were. I made the mistake of, okay, letting the guy borrow 1,000 pesos. $22.50, right? Well, he paid off about half of it. Paid about half of it back, about 500 pesos. Avoided me like the plague, of course, while he owed me money, which I hated. I hated that was interfering, but it basically let me know where I stood. Okay, so did he like me because he liked me, or did he like me because he saw opportunity? And I got my answer through his avoidance. So after he avoided me for weeks, he approached me and he said, hey, I need another 1,000 pesos. I want to borrow some money. And I said, well, sorry. I said, you still owe me 500 and I don't have it anyway. I can't help you. And he says, okay, well, look, just give me 1,000 pesos. I'll give you 500 of it back and then I'll only owe you 500 pesos. And I'm like, I might be dumb, but I'm not really stupid. I don't really see how that, works out, the math on that. And so basically I just said no. I said no, I said no, I said no. So we parted ways. A couple of days later, my beautiful bride, dearly, aka Giggly Girl, came home. She was not giggling. She was crying. She was upset. I'd never seen her like this before, and frankly, I don't think I've seen her like this since. Well, what it was, she had been out with our child, our little boy, who was 2 at the time, and this man saw her, and he approached her, and he accosted her. And he went up one side of her and down the other and basically blamed her for me not loaning him more money, or basically giving him more money. Told her, your boyfriend's a foreigner. That's their words, not mine. That's what they call folks who in the Philippines who are not Filipinos or foreigners. Your husband's a foreigner. He's rich. He's got the money. You shouldn't tell him not to give it to me. And really went off on her. Called her every bad word you could think of. She came home. She was upset. Needless to say, when I would go out and about, I had my eye on the lookout for this guy, okay? So I finally found him. I wasn't out looking for him specifically, but I was paying attention to my surroundings. Found him out one day, and listen. There was no comparison in physicality between me and this guy, okay? We were of about the same age, but he was dumpy. He was soft. He was weak. Okay, any man that would speak to a woman like that is weak. I approached him. He saw me coming. Here's part of the culture in the Philippines. Stating facts. There's no such thing as a one-on-one fair fight. It's crazy. If there's a fight in the market, everybody jumps in. I don't know how they choose sides. It's just insane. It happens, okay? So, listen, I knew that if I were to go up and start any sort of altercation with this guy, it wasn't going to be me whipping this guy's ass in like 5 seconds or less. Wait a minute, one punch knockout. Okay, half a second or less. It was going to be me against him and pretty much everybody in sight. Now, there, as far as which side did they jump on, it's pretty, it wouldn't have been my side. I'll leave it at that, and I know you're smart enough to read between those lines. So I go over and I simply say to the man, hey, big boy, why don't you talk to me the same way you talk to my wife? See how that works out for you. And then, of course, he's speaking in Visayan, and I understand what he's saying. He's saying, okay, get ready. When he hits me, kill him. So all these guys pick up stones. They pick up sticks. They grab their ice picks, which they always have in their pockets, their machetes from their tricycles. I was like, you know what? These guys are going to kill me. But then I thought of my wife, and I thought of how she came home upset, and I thought about the pain this piece of crap, who, though he might have been male, certainly was not a man, caused my wife. And I thought, well, you got an option right here. You can hit him so hard it jars his grandkids, or you can give him a little love tap. Just for the principle of it, to let him know, yeah, I don't care if you and these 20 people with you, who certainly are not men, though they might be males, are going to stomp a mud hole in my ass and walk it dry. I don't care, because where I'm from, a man's a man, and he defends his woman, just like Will Smith did when he bitch slapped Chris Rock. So I leaned forward and I said pretty much what I've been saying here. I said, though you might be a male, you certainly are not a man. You're a little bitch. And I went, like that and tapped him on the face. The next thing I remember, I'm on the ground, and okay, listen, there's this fight versus flight instinct, right? I'm a penguin, bro. This bird don't fly. So, but I'm on the ground. There's stars, stuff everywhere. I'm seeing canes. I'm seeing sticks. I'm seeing stones and sharp objects. Something in me said, if you don't get out of this, you're going to die. So I was able to get to my feet and somehow with broken feet run to behind a cement pillar where my motor scooter happened to be. I'd had my motor scooter. I jumped on my motor scooter, went as fast as I could towards the group while they were throwing rocks and stones and swinging their canes. But when they saw I wasn't turning around, they ran and hid behind cars. I stopped in the middle of them and I said, there's 20 of you B-words and all 20 of you couldn't whip my ass. I am getting up and I'm going home to my wife, and if any of you ever look at her again, I will return. I went home with broken feet. I couldn't walk for a month. I was in the hospital the next day getting x-rays. My feet were broken. They didn't break my legs, but they were bruised so bad they were black for a month. Cracked ribs. I'd never had the shit kicked out of me in my life like I did that day. And it was worth every single punch, kick, stab, and I'd do it again. I would do it again, and I almost did. I'm not going to leave you out of that loop with that. You know, one day after work, when I just started working at the Postal Service, delivering mail in Charlottesville, me, fellow carrier, and a supervisor went over to the Chinese buffet beside the post office to eat. Out of the blue, this supervisor for the U.S. Postal Service looks at me and says, Kevin, how much did you pay for your wife? And I looked up and I said, what? He says, she's a Filipina. I've seen her. Was she a mail order bride? How much did she cost? And I looked at him and I said to him, I'm going to act like I didn't hear that. If you say that again, I'm going to come across the table and I'm going to rip your throat out. And he said, well, I'm just curious how much it cost. Turns out I was giving the other guy a ride home that night, and I looked at him and I said to him, I'll be in the truck waiting for you, or the car, whatever. And I got up and I left. So I didn't keep my promise. I didn't go across the table and I didn't rip his throat out. Why? Trust me, I didn't fear a beating from this little limp-noodled male that was certainly not a man. That fight would have lasted probably a second. And I'm not a badass. I'm telling you, though, there are lines you don't cross, and I think Chris Rock found out where that line is last night with Will Smith. But it's just supervisor for the United States Postal Service. I would do my wife and my son no good if I were in jail. Okay, so that time I made the right choice and I left. My point of this, I guess, is I don't I hate violence as much as the next guy. I fought in a war. I was in Iraq, and as Dwight Eisenhower said, he said, I hate war as much as any man who's seen war can. I've been to some really shitty, nasty places in this world I would not want to go back to. I completely get why Will Smith bitch slapped Chris Rock. And Will Smith, you've just gone up again as far as your level of respect of which I hold you. You set a good example. It's nice to see real men still exist. See you for more next time.